Hi everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to be talking about coping with our feelings. And boy, have I got a lot of those for you this week. But before we get on to the discussion part, I thought I would give you a little framework which might help you when you want to go from being in a funk, or in despair or anything like that, and turn your life into a different mindset. And I think what happens for a lot of us is we forget that we have control of that. And if we can understand that we have control, then of course it makes it so much easier to turn our mood around. And I've got a couple of examples for you for this week, which I thought you might enjoy. And I'm going to be going straight into that, and then I will be chatting with the viewers, and we'll be having our general discussion afterwards. So the first thing I want to give you is an example from my own life, because I think it's so important that you understand that I am not some sort of person that you need to put on a pedestal. What I am is a human being who actually, goes through the same sort of stuff as you do. I just, in a way, handle it in a slightly different way. And so I had, over the last few weeks, I started to have a downward trend in my mood. And I don't know if any of you relate to that. It had to do with the pandemic, being locked down for so long. I've been out of my house for 5 months. For those of you who, don't know, I had a house fire, and that caused me to have to move away from my house. All sorts of little things like that happen. So the first thing when you're trying to deal with changing your mood is to understand that you're in one. Does that make sense to everybody? So the number one thing that you can do is to accept it, right? Own your mood. Be able to say to yourself, I'm in a funk and I know it. And it's really important that that is your first step, that you're not in denial, that you're not pretending you're just fine, because, well, actually, yeah, I'm laughing because somebody once gave me the definition of fine, and the first word wasn't very polite. The F of it wasn't very polite. And then the I stood for insecure, the N for neurotic, and E for emotional wreck. And I always thought, I'm feeling just fine. So whenever I think about feeling just fine, that's what comes to my mind. So forgive me. All right, so here we go. So number one, your feelings, and I think you all know that. If you're regular viewers of DearMamaSal, you already know this, but your feelings are your responsibility, right? They're your stuff. Nobody gives you your feelings. Nobody passes them on to you. Your feelings are your responsibility. And so if you are feeling down, understand that that's what happens to you in the environment that you're in. So I think you can understand that we've all had our fair share of being in lockdowns, and we've had snow here. I don't do snow well. I've had some minor health issues, and I wasn't achieving certain goals that I wanted to achieve. So all in all, it started to pile up, and that was my mood created by my perception of what was going on around me. You're all quite clear about that. So number one, I need to own my stuff, which I did. Number two, number two is no. The KNOW type no. Know that this is your stuff. And if you keep on doing the same things, you are not going to get better. Does that make sense? If you're in some sort of routine and you're continuing that routine, why would anything change? I wonder if that makes sense to everybody. So know that you need to make a change. All right. So this routine has caused you to start going into the vortex, as I call it. So carrying on this routine can only have one result. So the trick is to know you're going to have to change something, and that's okay. And to know that you and you alone are responsible for changing your mood. True? You and you alone are responsible for changing your mood, your feelings, right? That's your job, not somebody else's. Now, the third step I wanted to tell you about, I don't know if this is ringing any bells with anybody, but we'll discuss it in a second. The third step is that I do is I listen to my excuses. Do any of you relate to that one? Because I've got more excuses than most people, and I was thinking about the fact that I was feeling down and nobody had really contacted me a lot, and and it was then I blamed the pandemic, and then I blamed my friends, like they should be contacting me, and then I got into that. I wonder if any of you relate to this one. Well, they don't really care about me anyway, because otherwise they would have been in contact. And I was listening to all these things, and I'm going, really? Boy, that's victim, if ever I heard it. And so step number 4, and you know this because you've been around a long time. Step number 4, what can I do? Not what I can't do. What can I do? And I just said, okay, fine. If I let go of all my excuses and just work on me, what can I do to change my my relationship with my friends at the moment? And the number one thing I decided was, due to being sick, due to all sorts of the snow and all, I hadn't seen my neighbor for nearly a month. And she makes me laugh. And I decided I'm going to go and visit her. So the first thing that I did was make a decision. I was going to go and visit her. And then there was my friend that you remember, her husband died around Christmas time. And I thought, I really need to see her. And I decided to immediately, this is step 5, book an appointment, right? When I say book an appointment, but have you noticed that if you actually have an appointment with somebody, you're inclined to keep it? But if you think, well, I'll try and do that on Monday, you can put it off. But if you know that you've booked it and somebody else is expecting you to do something, you're more likely to do it. So number 5 step is book it. And I did. I phoned and actually I sent a text to both of them and said, I was planning to pop around on Thursday. That's to my neighbor. And I know that part of my conscious gift to her, I'd already given her a birthday present, but she had mentioned to me some time ago, and I'm trying to keep those sort of notes, that she likes to play Scrabble. And so what I did was I said, I'm going to be in the area on Thursday. And if you'd like a pickup game of Scrabble, let me know. I'll be there, late Thursday afternoon. And she immediately wrote back and said, oh, I would love that. And so that was one thing now. And that, by the way, immediately changed my mood. And then I'm still in the process of finding a time to see my other friend. And of course, I've said, well, I'm not really officially allowed to see her because I'm in lockdown or whatever. And then I thought, something? I'm going to a restaurant and I'm going to have a meal with her. And that is for my mental health as well as hers. And so can you see that in 5 easy, by the way, I did the Go Play Scrabble yesterday. And it was so cute because I started to play Scrabble with her and she's good. I mean, she's seriously good. And I actually had to, really concentrate because I'm not bad, but she's good. And so I was in the middle of concentrating quite hard to, and I just put up a word that was like 43 points. I was so happy with myself. When one of my other neighbors saw my car and came in to say hello. And, you know, that made me almost cry because it just was, you know, just the fact that she saw my car and made the time to stop and come in to see me. And as you can probably imagine, it really touched my soul. So I got a twofer. Not only did I get to see my one neighbor, but the other one came to, and she stayed for the longest time. And in fact, so long that by the time she left, I just said, all right, we'll play the Scrabble game some other day. But do you understand that I made an effort, I took responsibility, and let's just recap. Number one, I owned my own problem. The reason I was in a mood was my problem, nobody else's. And it's up to me to do something about it. Number two, know the truth. All right? Know the truth of this. That if I keep doing the same thing, I'm not going to get any better results. So I know I have got to change. That is the truth. Not somebody else has to change. I need to change. Number three, hear your excuses, all right? Because those things are the things that have got you stuck in the first place. So you need to hear them and promise yourself you're not going to use them, right? Those are the things you're not going to say. Number four, think about what you can do, not what you can't do, what you can do, what is acceptable. And then number five, book it in some way. And if you can see that because I made that effort, I ended up with bonuses, right? I got to meet the other neighbor, and I, you know, got to play Scrabble. And oh, and by the way, I have this cutest photograph to show you because I want to show you that it paid me back in so many ways. If I can find it. Yes, there we go. Don't know if you can see that. You see all the candy bars there? And it's something I want to tell you about my neighbor. My neighbor keeps a stock of Coke Zero because she knows I drink that. She has a private stash of it, hidden away for whenever I come to visit. Does that bring tears to your eyes? Because it sure does to mine. And the second thing she does, all right, is that because she can't see her grandchildren, she changed in her fridge all the candies in there to be cell-friendly. She knows what I like to eat. And by the way, peppermint arrow is quite high. But look at all the different candy bars she has in her fridge. And, you know, it's one of the things that when I go there, it's like the kid in me. It's just such fun because what I do is I go, and I nearly forgot this because I'm out of the habit, but just before I left, I said, how's the candy store? And I opened the fridge because I know I'm allowed to. And I went, look at all of those. and I took, you know, the peppermint arrow and I said, thank you so much. And she said, you know, so, you know, I don't get to see my grandchildren enough. So to me, you're my grandchild now. And, you know, I'm older than her, she is, but never mind, you know, apparently my mentality is one. So I thought there were some lessons there for all of you as well, which is what sort of a friend does that? I'd say a good one. And, you know, I baked her bread, of course, and took it with me. You know, I make a special multi-grain sourdough, and I specially baked it and took it with me. Pity I forgot to give it to her because I came home with it. But can you feel that doing what I did helped me and her and the other neighbor? And we all laughed and we all felt better at the end of it. And by the way, all the time I was playing Scrabble and chit-chatting, the girls were chit-chatting, hubby was sitting in the back room doing a jigsaw puzzle. And I had no idea that they like to do that. And so I said, well, the next time I come to visit, I'm going to sit down and do the jigsaw with you. And here's what I thought. What I thought was, it's about the games, people. You know, we used to sit down and play Scrabble. We used to sit down and do jigsaws together. We used to sit down and just idly chat. We used to quilt together. You know, we used to knit together or whatever. And part of the damage of the pandemic is our amount of isolation. But it's up to us to change it. So I hope that that is helpful for some of you. Are any of you going that you can see how that changed exactly what was happening to me? Any comments from you just before I carry on? And if any of you got any things that you particularly want to discuss today, please let me know so I know how much time to leave to discuss that. Jody, could you just do me a favor, if you will, and just put a note for me at No, don't worry. It's okay. So let's move on. And birthdays. As far as I know, the only birthdays we've got coming up are ones in March. So if anybody's got a birthday coming up before the end of the month, please let us know, because for some reason we don't have it in our database. Well, Jody, I'm going to be putting that up as a separate little part, a video part, so that if anybody gets stuck, you will know you can go to the DearMamaSal site at YouTube and pick up that particular video, and then just remind yourself, what do I need to do to get unstuck? And the important thing is to understand, of course, that only you can unstick yourself. It's quite honestly, when you know that that is a fact, you will live a much happier life, because you won't be waiting for more pills to make you feel better or whatever. What you'll be doing is going, hang on a second, I need to do something. I got myself in a funk, and that's okay. It happens, but I need to get out of it, right? Before it does damage to me. And then I will need the pills. Now then, how many of you have been following my journey of doing exercise on the Wii? Hang on a second, let me see what Nyasha is saying here. By the way, hello to everybody. Thank you for being here. And Nyasha, I saw Chip, I saw Jeannie, Isabel. Who else is here? Anyway, all of you who are here, thank you for joining in, because it really makes it so much more fun to have a group of us here. Jody, of course, for those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin. And Nyasha saying yes, because take me, for example, I'm no longer in depression, although it sneaks up on me every now and then. It's not overwhelming me anymore, as I now instantly change my thoughts and actions. Nyasha, the trick here is not only change your thoughts, but also your actions, right? Do something about it. And Jody's, Isabel saying, that is very sweet what the neighbor did for you in terms of the treats. My dad keeps some Coke Zero in his fridge for me. Unfortunately, it's been a year that I haven't been able to go. Oh, that's so sad. But, mention it to him. Say to him, just check it out. Have you still got Coke Zero in the fridge? Because that means that he's hopeful that you will be there. I must admit that my neighbor keeps it out of the fridge, because she knows I prefer it, not cold. Jeannie's saying, you came up with a solution for your problems. This is wise self-love in the best sense. But I want you to see it takes work. And Yasha's saying, I'm finally exercising as I would like. I did the virtual walk of 1 mile. I'm surprised I did the entire video. Good, let's continue to talk about that. I changed my goal this week. It's Lent. So instead of giving up something, I decided I would improve on something. Does that make sense to anybody? It's like, okay, well, I don't want to give something up. What I want to do is do something more challenging for myself. In other words, it's a commitment, but it's the commitment to do more, not less. And what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to do a minimum of 6,000 steps a day. Now, that probably doesn't sound much to those of you who do a lot of exercise, but for me, that was a big stretch. And I'm pleased to tell you that so far this week, as you can see, I have definitely exceeded the 6,000 a day. Wasn't that exciting? All right, so Jeannie's saying in Austin, Texas, her daughter and family have no electricity, no heat for nearly 4 days. I can do nothing except encourage. Finally, they got power back, got showers and hot food, coffee and cocoa. Yes, isn't that devastating what's happening in Texas? Yes, she's saying, I don't do this as often, but it's been 7 months tomorrow since my life drastically changed around, and I'm so pushing myself with it. Just see if I can, and I'm getting there. That's the whole point that I want to talk about, Nyasha, is start doing a small amount. Jody will tell you the same thing. Jody started, when I said to her, you need to understand, Jody, because she can't walk very well, as Jody, that even if you just sit and do this, arm rolls, or if you drum, it actually brings up your heart rate. And that's what aerobic is, bringing up your heart rate. And I said, Jody, just do what you can on arm rolls. Well, Jody, correct me where I'm wrong here, but I think you started on like doing 200 arm rolls and then resting and then doing, and then you were quite proud of yourself for that. And then you started to do some arm rolls, right? 200, that's right. And then you did some leg exercises as well. And, Jody managed 2,000 arm rolls this week. 2,000. Do you understand? She started at 200. And I think that is pretty impressive. So now then, the next thing I want you to understand is, you remember that 5 kilometers equals 3.1 miles. And at a typical walking pace, you can walk it in 45 minutes, right? So that's a 5 kilometer race, all right? You should be able to walk it in about 45 minutes, all right? If you're a slower walker, it might take an hour. So we can all choose to do a 5K event. Now, when I started doing the little exercises with the Wii, some of you remember, I was really pleased within the first month that I managed to do on my Wii Fit. It has a run around the island type thing, with all the little icon, emoji type things, that run with you. And I was so happy because I actually went all the way around the island without stopping, which was about 15 minutes for me at the time. And I was so happy. Now, I know this is probably going to be something that you probably won't believe, but in 90 days, that's 3 months, I have gone from doing that one lap around the island and being exhausted, I don't mind telling you, to this week, on Monday, I did 3 laps in 30 minutes. And actually, no, I lie, 4 laps in 30 minutes. And I did a 5K this week in 30 minutes. So, I lie, I did a 5 mile. It wasn't 5, it was 6. Hang on. In 30 minutes. It was amazing. Let me just make sure I'm telling you the truth here. And the point that I'm trying to make is, this was yesterday, I did 5.7 miles. So proud of my, oh. And then maybe it was that one. Okay, so 5.7, yes. So you understand that I've gone from, and by the way, that was 5.7, not taking a break, just straight through. And what surprised me is I am literally walking in place, but I'm only using the top half of my body. Do you understand that? I'm basically just using my hips, my core, torso muscles, and my arms. And that's how I do it. But I do it fast, right? I'm going, it's almost like, any of you old enough to remember the twist? It's twist again, like we did last summer. It's that sort of motion that I do, but it's like, and it brings my heart rate right up. And so how excited do you think I was that I managed to do? That was my best one, so let's see what that shows. That I managed to do 5.7 miles in half an hour. Yeah, it's like, and I'm just trying to find out where it is so I can show you. Yeah, there it is. And what did it do to my heart rate? Hold on. Tuesday. Okay. Look at my heart rate, people. And by the way, I didn't flatline there, wherever that is. That bit where there's a gap, I was charging my watch. But can you see that that is what it did to my heart rate? Right, so Jody is saying that's also great therapy for arthritis and the hip joints to keep up the mobility. And I've got little tricks that I do, Jody. If I'm getting bored, because that's the biggest thing about walking in place, is how you're going to fight the boredom if you get it. Or the fact that you can feel that those muscles, have had enough. I just take half a step forward on one leg and then I run into that leg. Do you know what I mean? I sort of lean forward and I run into that leg, and then I will rock back and stretch the Achilles and run with the Achilles stretch. And then I'll, step in another direction and do that. And it's amazing how quickly half an hour goes by. And I know that by the time I finished, I have used, a lot of muscles. So that was the one thing. So great joy for the progress about that. And the other thing is, I don't know if any of you have heard me say that I'm busy on the Anderson plan. And the reason I talk about that is because I remember seeing something that was written where Anderson Cooper said that however boring it may be, he has a meal plan every day where he basically eats the same thing every day, except for when he goes out for a special occasion or whatever. But on a regular day, he knows exactly what he's going to have for breakfast because he has the same breakfast every day. And he has the same lunch and the same dinner every day. He knows what to buy at the grocery store because that's what he does. And I thought, that could be quite boring, but I wonder whether it works. And so being me, I got to try that. Jody, and for those of you who've been watching my blood glucose, today when I got up for the first time since Christmas, I think there was one other time, but I hit, highly acceptable numbers. I'm only hesitating because I've got to think what it is in American. I hit 6 in Canadian terms. That's 108 in American terms. And it was, I had it written here ready for you. So why? Because I'm eating the Anderson, as I call it. So I will thought I'd share with you what I actually eat, and so I thought that might be something you might like to know. So if you would like to know, let me know. And in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that response for you, the other thing that I found really interesting was I actually talked to Doug, for those of you who know my son Doug, and said to him, because he's involved in marathons, and one of the things, of course, that was severely affected by the pandemic was sports of that type, because people are all running together and everything else, and so they've turned a lot of those marathons into digital things. So I already had an expert in the field, so to speak, and I said to him, can I do a digital half marathon? And he said, absolutely. But he said, did you say what I think you said? And I said, yeah. And so then, I started to look online a bit more. And I said, but can I do it if I don't have a treadmill? And he said, yeah. And he said, it's fine. You've got a fitness watch, you can prove what you did. And quite honestly, a lot of people don't have to prove it. They just, they work on an honor system if they're doing it digitally. Because who are you kidding if you lie? Just yourself. So I started to look into it. And, there are lots of virtual marathons and half marathons and 5Ks going on. And you can apply to do them. Oh, I've got makeup in my eyes. You can apply to do them, and they will actually send you a qualifying medallion, that you did it or whatever. But what I noticed was they're about $25 for the right to get a certificate to say that you did it and to get the medal. And I don't know about you, but I thought, I don't need those. I don't need more stuff in my life. And I certainly don't need to pay $25 to prove that I did it. I've got a whole cheerleading section who will be much more rewarding to me. So I am now going to plan to run in my way, okay, a half marathon by probably March, I think. All right, so Jeannie's saying, I'd be bored to tears. I like variety and some favorite foods that are okay. Yeah, but that's why I want to tell you how I eat. And I think you'll be surprised that you can do exactly what you're talking about. Okay. Because I actually eat the same thing every day except for dinner. Dinner, that's where I have the choices. Okay, so let me just put this lower down because I want to talk about how I do that food thing. Okay, so in the morning, I have one slice of my multi-grain sourdough bread with either peanut butter or no sugar added type jam. By the way, if you want to make your own no sugar added type jam, you can just literally take some fresh strawberries or some fresh raspberries or blueberries or whatever and just liquidize them in your smoothie maker and add a little bit of lemon juice to it, of lemon juice. And quite honestly, you'll probably find it is sweet enough just like that. But if you need it even more sweet, add some no sugar, stevia or something, Truvia, whatever you have that is a sweetening substitute. So I get to choose what I put on my piece of toast. All right. Yes, Jeannie, as I was saying to you that, mentioning that Benji always said, eat colorful foods. And that is absolutely, eat low carb, colorful foods if you can. And Jeannie's saying that she had half a boiled bagel today with fried rice and a scrambled egg. Okay, awesome. So you could continue that breakfast. Maybe you decide that you've got, 2 or 3 like that are your regular go-to breakfast. So I do change mine up, but what I do is I know how much to eat now. All right. So and then what I have as a morning treat is I have a little container of almond milk. And in there I put half a banana and about half a teaspoon of psyllium husk. And I blend that up. And that is my morning smoothie, if you like. For lunch is my salad time. I have soup and salad. So what I do is any leftovers that I happen to have in the fridge, I always check what's in the fridge, and I just blend it all into a soup. And then at lunchtime, I have a cup of soup, this big, and then I have a salad. And that salad normally has some feta cheese or some other protein. All right, I can have a boiled egg on it, cut up, or I have some meat cut up on it. But basically, it is like a club salad. Now, I wanted to tell you that one of the other tricks that I've learned is for dinner, or my part of my afternoon snack. Let's see if I can find that picture for you. And I try to do this every day, is I make sure that I cook up. That's probably at least 2 cups of vegetables, right? And I cut them up and I either grill them or I steam them, because that is the minimum amount of vegetable that I eat in a day, right? 2 cups of vegetables. How I eat them is up to me. I can have them, I sometimes in the afternoon will put 1 cup of those vegetables and put some mayo over the top. And it's a really tasty treat because, I put interesting spices on the vegetables. And then, for example, yesterday I had 1 packet of ramen noodles. I didn't have the spice package, but just the ramen noodles with 2 slices of cooked bacon that I cut up, and then the steamed vegetables in there as well. And by the way, I had half of that. I didn't need more. So half of it will become today's soup. Does that make sense? I'll just blend it all up and I will make that into the soup. I always treat myself to dessert. And my desserts, I'm getting really quite clever with that. I will, as you know, I'm good about mixing up about 1/3 of a packet of cake mix and keeping it. I use 1/3 of a packet, 1 egg, and some pureed apple sauce. And I mix it all up and it stays in my fridge. And then every night I either make, a cupcake out of it or whatever. And the thing that I love to do is I pour them into my silicone ice cube trays, and I literally stick them in the microwave for 2 minutes. And I've got these beautiful little cubes of cake mix. It feels so indulgent. And then over the top of that, I normally put some fruit or something. And then when the days that I don't feel like having a cupcake, I found another great trick, which works really well for my sweet tooth. And that is I will have some yogurt and I will put 1 teaspoon of no sugar added jam into the yogurt and mix it up. And I have got some leftover, I at Christmas time, I made some shortbread and it didn't work. And I've got the crumbs from that in my freezer. And what I do is I take out a little, I want to say a handful, but it's a pinch. And I just sprinkle those over the top because it makes a little crunchy thing. You can also sprinkle, some days I've just sprinkled coconut over the top, right? But it's just adding that 1 teaspoon of no sugar added jam that gives it all the sweetness that, and for some reason, I'm not craving any other sugars as much. And then in the evening, I normally have cheese and crackers, when I'm vegging out, when I am relaxed. And I allow myself 5 crackers and, a couple of slices of cheese. And I'm not finished yet. There's more. My evening treat is that I get to have a small bowl, and I have some corn chips in it. I have some chow mein noodles in it. I normally throw in a few sultanas or cranberries, dried cranberries. I put in some French's onions. In other words, it's got all sorts of different flavors to it. And that's my treat at night. And the question is, has it dropped my blood sugar? Surprisingly, yes. Jody has been working, watching me do this over the last couple of weeks, and I've managed to get my blood sugar down 2 points. Hi, Leo. Good to see you. You're maid of honor. You're a maid of honor? Yes, Niesh is saying that those ice cube trays are definitely a great encourage to portion control. Yes, I found, what I do, Nyasha, is I use 3 ice cubes of cake. And then I put, other stuff with it. Jody's saying Greek yogurt has more protein and less sugar than regular yogurt. Yes, I have the Halogon, I think. That's what I use. And I buy it in a bag. Can you guys buy yogurt in the bag? Because I want to tell you, it is so cost effective. Anybody want to see that? I'll go and get it for you. All right. So do you understand that I know, oh, by the way, if I get bored with the sourdough for breakfast yesterday, I decided I was going to have rolled oats. So I've got a choice. I decided that it's one or the other. I can either have my slice of sourdough or I can have oats. And I have about half a cup of dried oats. The reason I know that is because yesterday I cooked up a cup and then divided it and in half. And I will have the other half after I finish the broadcast. Or I will use that other half in my smoothie, which also is a great idea, by the way. You've never seen yogurt in a bag? Start looking at your grocery store, because I can't believe that Canada are the only people. Do you want to see it, Joe? Because it really is. But it is so cost effective. And it lasts for the longest time. So the bag is about this big. Let me just say it's about this big. Let me go get it. Nah, wait a minute. I'll do it the easier way. Hang on. Just want to see roughly how much it costs here in Canada. It's not doing it for me. Hold on, guys. Where's my shopping list? I can do this. Why can't I find my... There we go. I'll be there in 1 second. I am so spoiled. Of course, I'm doing it all the wrong way because I don't normally buy stuff on my cell phone. I buy it on my big computers. But let me see if I can find. There we go. Nearly there. Trying to see how much is in it. Okay. Two kilograms. That's a pound, right? Basically. Okay, so it just comes in a bag like that, Judy. I'm trying to find out what the price is because it's 2 kilograms. I would look it up at your local grocery store because you might have missed it. 4.4 pounds, thank you. Yeah, I did the calculation the wrong way around. So that is important. Yes, that's a good idea, Jeannie, as well. Jeannie's saying that she uses cupcakes, and I've done that as well, and it's great. She uses cupcake tray to make individual egg breakfast. And by the way, you know, I've done that as well, where you start with either bacon or ham, and then you put, you know, maybe an egg in it, and then you can put, you know, whatever, you know, or you can sort of scramble up some eggs and put them in with some vegetables or something, whatever you want to do. It's a very good idea. And yeah, there are lots of ways. And, you know, it's a nice idea to bake up 6 of them and have them in your fridge for what I call a protein treat, right? Because, you know, the ham is okay for you and the egg is protein. And, you know, it's a really good thing to have. And do you find that the meat gets crispy? Because, you know, if you sort of almost overcook it, you know, you've got that crispy part to it as well, which I think, you know, always helps the taste. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, yeah, it's really, I agree with you, Jeannie. It's really quick. And delicious. The other thing that I like to make, and it's on my list to make this week for protein snack, is I will be making Scotch eggs. And, you know, that's a boiled egg wrapped in meat, ground meat. I use a mixture of beef and pork for that, or beef and sometimes I mix beef and chicken ground up. But you just wrap it around the boiled egg and then bake it for, you know, probably 30, 40 minutes until it's well done. And then cut it in half. And it's a really good protein snack. By the way, I cut it in half long ways so that when you open it up, you know, you've got the half moon of the boiled egg inside and it looks wonderful. And so to me, it's like, that's a really easy thing to do and it's healthy. It's a good, healthy snack. Doesn't matter what you put into your daily routine, but do you understand the principle that if you're struggling with weight, as I have been, that I needed to find out what can I eat and start losing weight. Oh, the question is, have I started to lose weight? And after 3 months of solidly trying to do that, and I realized that the exercise wasn't enough. I needed to do more. And then I needed to, really get my eating under control. So let me see, what have I done here? So you can see that there was quite a drop in this week. You see that? I've already come down 4 pounds. So it's working for me. Thank you, Anderson. And yesterday, funnily enough, when I went to go and visit my neighbor, the first thing she did was to hand me some sort of dessert treat with icing on top. You know, it was like brownies with icing on top, 2 of them, and I had them. And then there was the Aero bar, which I inhaled. She also gave me a whole box of Lindt chocolates for Valentine's Day because I'd missed seeing her on Valentine's Day, and she obviously had bought me a box of chocolates. And I managed to have one and close the lid. I was so proud of myself. And I've hidden them in the back room, knowing that I can have one a day. At treat time. Okay. I wanted to share with you something that I was talking to Jody about this week. If ever you get asked to count backwards, you're with the doctor or some other thing, and they're trying to find out if you can count backwards. Now, they never do it with something easy, like, 2s or 5s or something. They pick 7s or 8s or 9s. And how many of you are going, I could not do that very well? So what I thought was, would you guys like to know how I do it? Because, I've had to do that a number of times. Oh, by the way, Jody's saying 80% on track and 20% treats is a good balance. Yes, and that's what I wanted to find out. Could I find this Anderson thing, but still be able to put my treats in there and keep control? And by the way, the thing that I did yesterday was when I had those treats at Betty Ann's, I came home and I didn't have dinner, the normal dinner. I just had liquid. I had soup, and then I had more, I had some almond milk with half a banana in it. I kept to liquids, and I didn't have my treat bag at night, right? And that's how I kept control. So I wanted to show you how to do it, if you'd like to do it. Or if you ever get asked to do it. What did I do with my... Okay, seriously, we know it's here, because I've used it already. Oh. Come on, Sal. Okay. Maybe this will work. Oh, it's right in front of me, so I can't see it. All right, so Jody, you had to go back in 7s, right? What number did they start with? just so that I can do it. $80. Okay. So Jody is saying that she was asked to count back from 80 in sevens. Right. Here's the trick. Go down 10. So go minus 10 would bring you to 70, plus 3 would bring you to 73. Okay? So now then, all right, take off 10 because that's easy to work out in your head. And you need to add 3 because you're coming down in sevens. Obviously, if you're coming down in eights, you'd add 2. If you're coming down in nines, you'd add 1, right, to make it up to 10. So wonder if that makes sense. It works so well. Anybody want to try it? All right, from 80, let's do it. From 80, come down 7, going to take off 10, gives me 70 plus 3, 73, minus 7. 10 down will give me 63, plus 3 will give me 66. Come down again. 66 minus 10 will give me 56, plus 3 will give me 59. Do you get the idea? And that's, and then 59, and just keep doing that on the way down. But the thing is, you just don't rush it. You just go, oh, you want me to count down by sevens? Let me see if I can do that. 80, and then in my head, that's what I'm doing. I want to tell you, Jody, Nyasha, it takes a bit of practice. So why don't you challenge yourself to practice doing that? All right? Practice doing it. It will be really good for your brain. Maybe just see if you can do 3 every day, 3 steps down every day. And what I would do, Nyasha, is I would do it on paper first, just so that you can think. Yes, Jody's saying when she was asked to do it, she was like a deer in the headlights. She'd had no coffee. And it was 9 o'clock in the morning. She hadn't even had coffee yet. But Jody, the first time somebody caught me with that, I went, I'm never going to get caught with that again. Never. Therefore, I need to find some way of doing it that works for me. And ever since then, I get asked to go down. I'm slow doing it. Why? Because I'm busy calculating in my head. And sometimes I actually do it out loud because it's like, okay, let me think about that. So that's 80 minus 10 would make it 70 plus 3 would make it 73. And then plus 10 would make it 63 plus 66. And I just literally can talk through it. Why? I'm still doing it. And I actually had one doctor burst out laughing and said, only you. And I went, yeah, I know. But can I do it? You bet I can. Well, Jody's saying I got through it, but it was clunky for a moment. I want to tell you that I've never been able to do that one until I learned how to do it. So how do you do it, Jody? Do you think it through the same way? But I find it so much easier. Mine doesn't do it instantly, Nyasha. It's not because you're slow. Mine doesn't do it instantly. That's why I had to come up with a hack. So, and I can do the hack much more quickly than thinking it through. Right, so did anybody have any joy this week? Or excitement? Well, Jody's saying that she thought it through, but was second guessing because she didn't want to give a wrong answer. So were you second guessing or double checking it because you didn't want to give a wrong answer? I've got a feeling you meant double checking, not second guessing. And by the way, nobody says you have to do it quickly. They just say, can you do it? The answer is sure. Yeah, that's what I thought, Jody. I know you quite well. So I had some excitement this week, yesterday, and see if I can show you. Hang on. Oh, there we go. They're putting floors into my home. So the color is this sort of bleached gray color. So exciting. All right, so Nyasha's saying it's like the word inflation. I've heard that for years without actually knowing what it meant. And it was only last year when you explained it in a simpler form that I understood what it was. Yes, expect inflation to go up after the pandemic. All right, the cost of everything will go up because of, everything's going to be more expensive. All right, so Jeannie's saying she chose hardwood flooring recently as well as washable tile flooring and a dark blue bathroom vanity and a plain mirror. Well, that's wonderful. And yes, I bought the wider planks as well. And I was really, I didn't expect to see flooring until next week. So when I went to go and look at the house this week, and the first thing I saw was the flooring, I just melted. As you can imagine, that also changed my mood. Because once the flooring is in, by the way, I did get a bit of a sadness as well. When I walked into the bathroom, they actually had already installed that corner shower without asking me if I wanted an upgrade. And I tried not to feel guilty about that because that's, really, they should, with all due respect, you're redoing somebody's bathroom. The number one question is, do you want any upgrades before we do it? And the answer was, I already said that. I'd already told them early on that I wanted a walk-in shower, bigger one. Nyasha's saying, it's my brain. I don't get many things instantly and write off meanings and explanations needed to be taught in the simplest form for me. Thanks, Mama Sal. I'm grateful for this. Well, you know something, Nyasha? I think that you do yourself a disservice. I really do. I think you are actually quite smart. I don't think anybody understands inflation necessarily, and sometimes you look it up and the gobbledygook is worse than the word you were trying to look up. And so I've always said that I think part of the problem is the way people explain things. They don't explain it for regular people. I remember one time talking to a doctor about that, and I was talking about a book that I found fascinating. It was a book about psychology, talking about people's shadow sides. And I found it fascinating. But the only thing is, as you were reading it, every other word was this long. And, I said, why don't they write these books for real people? And he said, well, knowing you, Sal, you'll probably write the book. And guess what? So both Jeannie and I have got progress with our houses. Jeannie also had a fire in her home. Now then, I got this week. I'm so excited. Okay. Anybody want to guess what it is? Anybody know what it is? It is magic. Reminds me of a Pretty Woman. Jody's going, a charger of some sort, a power bank. How about a keyboard? Now, the reason I got it was, you all know that I've got a problem with the keyboard on my computer, which means my computer is going to have to go in and get fixed. But before I can send it in to be fixed, I need to download a lot of stuff or upload it into the cloud. I need to get probably another computer to put it on. And, I think it's time that I probably got myself another computer, because, they are improving them so fast. So what I thought was, that's going to take me time to get everything off this computer so I can send it in. And in the meantime, I thought, you know me, but in the meantime, I've got to use a keyboard, and that's not easy. So what am I going to do? And I thought, why don't I just use a remote keyboard, a wireless keyboard? Now, normally I would have walked to the craft room and picked up one of my many wireless keyboards, but they're all in storage. So I thought, I think I'll see what they've got in wireless keyboards at the moment. And I saw this and I thought, how awesome is that? If I can use it. I can use it with my phone, with my tablet, and with my computer, right? It's just, I will, Jody, make sure that I put up the link, because I had a feeling that some of you would like the look of this. By the way, it cost me it's less than 50, just under $50, which is a lot cheaper than getting another computer if you've got a keyboard that's not working. Right? Now, I like to have a number pad on mine. So this is bigger than normal. And it's a little awkward to get used to it, to be honest, but the F works beautifully. And last night I was lying in bed and I was busy turning pages of something I was reading just by hitting, a button here. I was, I had my tablet up and I just was pressing the button on here. How many of you can see me just going, okay, fine, fine. So exciting. It didn't take very long. Oh, it's got a charging cable with it. Little charging cable. And then once it's charged, you just use it. But now, okay, so nice to see you, Jeannie. See you again soon. So now here's the other thing that happened to me. For some reason, my spare computer that I've got in my bedroom, because I can't get Netflix and things on the television in the bedroom. So I use my other old computer. It's really old, it's state of the art, but it does get Netflix and stuff on it. So that's great. But somehow or other, I managed to get it jammed so that the cursor, the touchpad didn't work. And I'm going, this is insane. And I'm doing stuff with the tab, but I couldn't get rid of the thing that was jamming it, because I couldn't get into the task thing where you can nuke things that are jamming. It took me about half an hour to have the magical thought. And I know that you think I'm so clever, guys, but really, it took me half an hour to think, why don't you just go and get your mouse from your other computer and the dongle thing? You know what I mean by a dongle, right? The little that activates the mouse. Why don't you just go and get that? And I went, how come that took me half an hour? But I remembered. And sure enough, I plugged it all in and I went, got rid of the window that was jamming everything. And then thought, why don't I do that every night? Just bring the mouse with me. Good idea. So that made me chuckle. And, funny enough, Jody, I thought of you because I could hear you going, yeah, Mrs. MacGyver. But the funny thing was, it took me half an hour to work out the hack on that one. Now, I actually brought two different keyboards. This one, because I wanted one that I could use with my phone and my tablet, but I also bought a bigger one. But I can't find it. It was delivered, apparently, but I can't find it. So I've asked my neighbor to go back to my house when they open it up today, to do the flooring, to go in there and see, was another parcel delivered that she didn't see at the time, because bless their hearts, they picked up the parcel. And I may have lost a keyboard. But yeah, it's the price you pay these days. I don't know, if the problem is that the guy that delivered it didn't take a picture of where he left it. He just did his own signature. Well, hello, I didn't sign for it. Somebody else did, right? Interesting. The Ash is saying USB on the go cord. Insert the flash drive with the stored files into your phone. And instantly you can be sure that you've successfully transferred all your files off your laptop. Okay, I'll look into that. Thank you. Okay, let me just put that somewhere where I will be able to find it later. Hold on one second, people. That's important. Thank you, Nasha. Okay. I'll look into that later. Okay, so I got it too, Joe. All right, now then. So let's think about, what if I've lost the keyboard? The fact that the delivery guy didn't take a picture of where he left it, there's no way, there's no way to show that he actually did deliver it, quite honestly. I'm sure he did, or she, but that's what amazes me. And so to me, I don't know, has anybody had that happen where something that they ordered off Amazon didn't, it wasn't there? I'm pretty certain that that I probably could talk to Google, but my thing, and maybe because I do a lot of business with Google, maybe they'd give me the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. I may just try it just because. But first of all, I'm doing a double check on it. But there's no point crying about it. It is part of what happens. And so what I have to look at is, do I want to spend more money and get yet another remote keyboard? I'll think about that. And as we think about the week, did any of you get any surprises this week? Yeah, you see, exactly, Jody, and some of the delivery people do that. Jody's saying that our Amazon delivery person sends a snapshot as proof of delivery, showing where the package was left. And that's what I'm saying. This person who delivered it just scribbled, and they didn't do that. And so, that's what I'm going to talk to the delivery people about. So I look at it and go, things happen. And I don't believe that, I'm the first person to have it happen to them. So now it's a case of, do I want to spend the money again? I just got to work on it. And I'll let you know what I find out as a matter of interest. I think I will first talk to the delivery people, not Amazon, but the delivery people, because they're the ones at fault. Amazon can show that they sent it, but it's the delivery that went wrong somehow. Did anybody have any surprises this week? Trying to think if I had any surprises. I guess the flooring was a surprise for me. I really wasn't expecting that. It was a fun surprise too. Yeah, Jody's saying, Sal, if they fail to provide proof, I don't think you'd be on the hook for the cost. Yeah, I hope so. We'll see. It's more time, right? And it's a case of, do I want to spend them? The reason I say it like that, it's more time, because your time costs money as well. So I will find out who did the delivery, and oh, that's interesting. Jody's saying, when our package was stolen from our porch, Amazon provided a free replacement. Okay, so it's worth letting them know. Thank you, Jody. I will do that. Sadness. I wanted to talk about sadness a little bit. If any of you've had any sadness, I know that our dear friend Lauren in Tasmania, one of our viewers, she had to go to a funeral this week to bury her grandmother. And the most amazing thing was that obviously that really affected her. She was really feeling so sad about it. And for some of you who know Lauren, you know that she's in a wheelchair. So, traveling a 3-hour journey, and then having to stay somewhere overnight always is stress for Lauren, because very few places are properly wheelchair accessible. And the most amazing thing was that she sent us some photos of the room or the apartment that she was in. And it was just like, it was so wheelchair accessible. It blew my mind. The bathroom was massive, and you could just see she could just wheel straight into the shower without any problem. She had lots of room near the toilet. The bedroom was so much room for her to maneuver around. I want to tell you, I took one look at it and I smiled. Jody, I'm sure you did as well. But it was just like, wow, that is what you call wheelchair accessible. And that brought me such joy, because I thought, here she was going on this sad journey, and right in the middle of it, she actually had this wonderful surprise. And I just was so touched by that. Did any of you feel any anger this week? I don't think I did. Oh, maybe about the parcel. Not much. And any disgust or contempt or fear? You see, every week we will go through these feelings, and every week we choose what to do with them. And I think that's what makes life so interesting, quite honestly. And I find that the more that I work with you guys and do these little learning moments with you and talk about feelings and tell the truth about it, I just find I'm handling it even better myself. How are you guys doing? I know that I had 2 two bits of feedback this week that I thought was really interesting. Both Jody and Lauren had reason to discuss the work that we do here with professionals. And they both got complimented on the way that they handle things. And I thought, boy, isn't that a nice testament to the work that we do here? That, that the professionals can see that their understanding of these things is that much improved. So that's awesome. Oh, Jody's saying she had a little frustration with needing to reschedule 2 diagnostic appointments, but I realize that's all unfolding in its own perfect timing. Yes. It is frustrating because it takes you a lot more effort to book an appointment because, you need to arrange transport and everything else. So I understand the frustration, but it is what it is. Yes. Oh, I forgot to mention my frustration from yesterday, didn't I? I came home from the Scrabble thing, and now I knew I needed to just put some bits together on the broadcast, and I would be ready for this broadcast today. And for some reason, I went into YouTube and all my videos were missing. I've got a lot of video on YouTube. And I went, no, that's not possible. And do not panic, do not pass go, but do not panic. That's not possible. And so I booted out and booted back into YouTube, and guess what? Still no. And then, bye-bye, Nasha. Then it took me a while to realize that the reason it wasn't right was because I was actually looking at my personal YouTube rather than the DearMamaSal YouTube. But again, it took me a while to work out that's what was wrong. And I've done it before. And but normally it doesn't do that. Normally when I tune into YouTube, it immediately takes me to the right one. Well, the reason that it had got messed up was because I had reason to change my password. And when it took me back into my personal, rather than automatically linking me through to the DearMamaSal. But again, that took me about an hour to work that one out. It was an hour that I hadn't planned on spending. And I always have this expression that goes through my head, rather than get frustrated and angry, I keep reminding myself it takes as long as it takes. And, even once I got it all sorted out, I then had to take a deep breath and say, okay, now let's go back to where you wanted to be over an hour ago and start again. Because if you can believe it, what I had done was I had put up all 3 promos for this weekend's broadcast onto my personal thing. And now I had to delete all of those, obviously, and then go back and redo all of them. And that was about over an hour's extra work. So I'd lost an hour. Then there was the hour of recreating it all. But all the time, I just have this mantra that I've learned to say to myself. It just takes as long as it takes. And you're not going to quit until it's done. So just breathe, take it easy. Go get a cup of, coffee if you want it or something. I got, filled up my water bottle and said, okay, fine, whatever you need. So remember that if you get caught on something going in the wrong direction, it takes as long as it takes. I thought this was an interesting quote. Sometimes life seems a dark tunnel with no light at the end. But if you just keep moving forward, you will end up in a better place. You see, quite often when we're in the midst of chaos in our lives, we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know some of you are saying, the light at the end of the tunnel is the oncoming train. But sometimes we don't know which direction to go in. And that's when you just move forward anyway. Do something, stepping forward. And you'll be amazed where that takes you. And from my experience, sometimes that confusion and not really knowing isn't a bad thing, because you end up doing something instinctively that you wouldn't have done otherwise. And this is from Sean David Hutchinson, and he said, but that's life, a long tunnel. There are lights along the way, and sometimes they feel spread further apart than others. But they're there. And when you find one, it's okay to stand under it for a while, to catch your breath before marching back into the dark. Isn't that beautiful? I like that. And this one from Richie Norton said, did your dreams just hit the fan? Life unexpectedly take a turn for the worst? Here's what you do. The first thing I think is to realize God didn't do this to you. It's just life. Second, to know that it sucks, because it does. Third, it's a tunnel, not a cave. Fourth, it still sucks. And fifth, it's not hopeless. Assign some meaning to it. Choose for those horrible things to bring you closer to your family and God and not further apart. Isn't that beautiful? And if you've never read it, I really recommend you do. That was the commencement speech that Bill Gates gave to some university, probably Yale or something. But his opening part of that was, life sucks. Know that it sucks. And life, the whole speech was about don't expect things to go right all the time, because they don't. And then he went on to describe why some of the times that's a good thing. But, life sucks sometimes. And that means we just need to regroup. And yesterday, when I was, texting Jody that, that I had this major glitch going on with YouTube, I am certain that Jody just knew that Sal will just keep at it until, if she has to work through the night, she'll keep at it until it works, because she knows that's who I am. And I was prepared, by the way, to work at it all night if I had to, because I was going to do a broadcast. I like this one. It said, if you've entered the tunnel, then you can be sure that the tunnel has at least one exit. And if you think about a tunnel, most tunnels, do have at least one exit. Some of them have more. If you're talking like an underground train or something, they have little extra exits as well. And sometimes these tunnels we get into are not that bad. If we can think that, hey, maybe I'll find a side tunnel that I haven't seen before. And here's a nice one. It says, sometimes you must behave like a tunnel. If a formidable mountain is in your way, thrust through it. Yeah, Jody's saying I had no worry that it wouldn't be fixed because you don't quit. Yeah. Well, you probably know more about me than a lot of people, Jody, in terms of my mentality on things like that. But, it's just, it takes as long as it takes. It really helps me at times like that. And Manny Ashwin said that there may be no light at the end of the tunnel, but there certainly is enough air, enough oxygen for you to keep going. And if you must keep going, you must keep going because that is your duty. How many of you have been in that situation where, you were just in this space and you didn't know which way to go, but you just knew you had to take the next step? And sometimes that's all that it takes, is take one more step. I thought this was a very interesting thing. The W for when and the A for all seems, L for lost, and K for keep the faith. So when all seems lost, keep the faith spells, the acronym is walk. Walk on. There is a bulb at the end of your tunnel. Your faith will light it up and get you there. Don't drop your faith. Keep it up. Now, it doesn't matter what your faith is, all right? You can have faith in the tooth fairy for all I care. But, you know, it is terribly important to know that you are not alone in your struggles, to know that there is a reason for everything. Now, I want to tell you about this thing that happened with my messing up the YouTube thing last night. I kept wondering, because I don't believe there are coincidences in life. And I kept wondering, is there something I need to know? And that's why this is being messed up. Do you understand my thinking? Because I don't believe in coincidences. And as I was redoing the thumbnail for today's broadcast, I realized it had a typo in it. And quite honestly, if I hadn't had the problem, I would never have seen it. And in which case, it would have gone up incorrectly. So then I burst out laughing and went, boy, that took 2 hours out of my time, but at least I didn't put it up with a typo on it. How about this? It's true, the storms won't last forever. The nasty weather will never last, and there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Diana Rose Morcia said that. And in the Book of the Dead, it said, this is the dark, light strung up all the way, depression, and driven deeper in by hunger, pistols, and despair, they took the tunnel. You see, part of life is don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. Keep going forward. Even if you can't see the light yet, it is there. And Khalib Kilton said, human beings can handle much terrible circumstances in life, and there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. I think, again, a lot of us realize that sometimes these struggles that we go through are there for a really important reason. They're to slow us down or to make us rethink something, or in my case, notice something that I hadn't noticed before. And if you're trapped in a tunnel with many exits, the tunnel can't help you. The exit is in your mind. And again, very important. Remember, I was going into that funk, and I know that funk. And if I don't take control of it, it'll, just sucks me in. And I realized that I could choose to just stay there and feel sorry for myself, or I could get out of it. And getting out of it meant that I would need to do something. And so this week, I would ask you to concentrate on that, on really being aware that whether you stay in a funk or not is your choice, right? How about this one? Dreams. All this hustle for my dreams. All tries and failures for my dreams. All encounters of difficulties for my dreams. All flash of light in the end of the tunnel for my dreams. And sometimes I wonder whether our struggles are because we are so convinced that we need to achieve something, or that we have to show somebody something, that we are better than we thought we were, or whatever. When really, if you just let it go and let life take you at the speed it wants to take you, it works. A beautifully lit tunnel is more dangerous than a pitch black tunnel, because you may not want to get out. If you dress the evil in a beautiful dress, the evil will be invisible. Isn't that beautiful? And so this week, let's work on that. Let's work on doing a better job of controlling ourselves. Let's work on when we get these moments of stuckness, is what I want to say. I know it's not a word. Remember that number one, we need to own the problem. And it's our stuckness. We're the ones in the dark tunnel. Nobody else put us there. We put us there by the way our mind processed whatever's going on. Number two, know the truth. And the truth is you will stay there if you don't change what you're doing. And it will get worse if you don't change what you're doing. And therefore, do it. And then hear your excuses for not doing it. And promise yourself you're not going to use those excuses this week on that particular problem. And then think of what you can do. Because it's the things that you can do that will get you out of the funk. Not all the things that you can't. All the things you can't are part of your excuses. And then book an appointment to do something. In other words, make yourself accountable. Can you see that when I decided I was lonely and I needed some human contact, that I needed to book the appointment so that I knew that I would get human contact? And the good news was, as a result of that, I got twice as much as I was expecting. So there we have it. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to put up that front end of how this works on a standalone so that you can get to it. I am hoping that you all gain something out of this broadcast today, because as you know, if you did, then I'll do another one. And I wondered if there are any things, any subjects in particular that any of you would like me to pay some attention to. Because, you know, it's always important for me that I'm doing something that addresses any struggles that you might be having. Please make sure you let me know. All right, everybody. So this is DearMamaSal saying, remember to look after one another. But most of all, please remember to look after yourself. Please remember to be accountable for your feelings. Please remember that if you keep going in the same direction, you're not going to change the outcome. And please remember that looking after yourself is not a bad thing. It is essential if you hope to get through the pandemic and everything that is going on with a healthy mind. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your continued support. I love you all. And this is DearMamaSal saying, we can do this. We can have our ups and downs. We can have good days and bad days. And as long as we're all here supporting one another, we will get through this. Bye-bye for now.